because he sort of left home and wanted to go and live with his mates, as they all do. Then he rang me one day and said, "Mum, I've got a motorbike." And I said, "Shane, I don't want to know about it. I don't want to know about it. Don't tell me you've got a motorbike." And then we got the phone call about the accident.
Shane fits into a category all of his own. He dislocated his head from his neck, so it's the highest level of your neck that you can break. Luckily somebody was there to resuscitate him, otherwise he wouldn't have made it to hospital, and certainly he wouldn't be here today.
I was home, Ken was away, and my daughter was away as well. And I was on the phone to Ken and I had a knock on the door, and it was his girlfriend at the time. And I went to I said, "Oh, hi Carly." And she said, "Don't you know?" And I said, "No, what?" And she said, "Shane's had an accident on his motorbike." And I said, "Is he okay?" And she said, no, he's really bad." So I didn't think it would have been that bad. I thought everything would have been okay. I rang Brock and they came over and took us up to the hospital. And all the way I thought, it'll be okay. This sort of thing doesn't happen in our family, he'll be fine. And once we got up there and found out the situation, the doctor took us into the room and said, "Look, this is a horrific accident." He sort of explained it like Christopher Reeve's accident, but saying it was worse, and really didn't give us much hope. So we thought we were up there to say goodbye.
I first saw Shane approximately 2 weeks after he'd been injured. He'd at that time been moved from the Fremantle Hospital, where he'd first been treated, brought up to the intensive care unit at Royal Perth, and at that time the prognosis was extremely concerning. Shane had sustained quite a massive injury, and a massive injury at a particularly strategic part of the spinal cord and brain stem. He was extremely vulnerable to episodic chest infection, and so he had numbers of episodes of pneumonia, which in themselves constituted a further life-threatening situation. Shane was never down in the dumps. He was always positive. You actually went into the room when he was here, and in fact you were immediately aware that even if it was a day when he wasn't clinically well, he was still bright, he was still endeavouring to communicate. The electronic mechanisms that we used to allow him to actually use information technology equipment proved quite useful, and he's a young man with skills. He quickly adapted and very easily learned through the whole process of just utilising a cursor how to actually produce typewritten script.
Many years ago, being the chaplain at the Drags, I was approached by one of his team members, and she asked me if I would pray for Shane, and he'd had a bad accident. He was fighting for his life. In fact, she said there wasn't much hope. I can't remember the first time I spoke to Shane. When he came to, he wasn't all there, because when I say wasn't all there, he was still under sedatives. But when he totally came to, I can remember the expression on his face that, first of all, he'd opened his eyes to where he couldn't move anything. And secondly, he had this strange chaplain there.
You remember you're at your friend's workshop, and he went home to get his motorbike. He was riding back to the workshop. Yeah, he's looking over to his right to look at everyone watching him. And when he looked back, the tree branch was right there. Hit him in the chest and pulled his helmet off. Went under his chin. And that's all he remembers, really. Yeah, some people rushed over from the nursery over the road who've actually seen him come off the bike when he came off it. And they seen that his head was all black. Yeah, because he didn't have any oxygen going to his brain, because he'd crushed his throat and broke his neck. And then they started doing CPR on him. That's when his wife, husband and wife from the nursery came over and did CPR. Yeah, one of the guys that was buying stuff from the nursery, he was there at the time, and luckily he was. Yeah, and he helped out, and he was actually the one that did the CPR, wasn't he, Shane? Yeah, so they were doing CPR for about 40 minutes before the ambulance got there, so... the police came and took over the CPR for 40 minutes, which is...
I told my best friend, he and his partner, I told them, and I said, I've met this guy and he's 28, and they said, oh, how'd you meet? I met him through TAFE, and, you know, he's a good looking guy, and I don't know, I probably made up that you did, well, you tell me your occupation is web design and stuff like that. So I had all these positive things to say about Shane, and I rattled off all this stuff, and they're like, oh yeah, it sounds really good, and they really keen for me to pursue him. And then I said, oh, and by the way, he's a ventilated quadriplegic and he can't talk, and they both sort of went, oh. And I was like, no, I said, you can't do that. Don't hear the last bit and cancel everything else out. And I said, and that's exactly how I look at it. If you've got 9 out of 10 things that are really positive things, and then one last bit that we can get over, then it's fine. We what? Both of our families have both accepted both of us. Yeah. Yeah, because you were terrified. I remember, like, Shane at one point was hesitant to put the label of boyfriend girlfriend on it, because he was so worried that my family were gonna think that, like, and try and say to him, what are you doing with our girl, and you know, she's better than that, and you're only bringing her down and stuff, because you were really, really, really bad like that. Yeah. And it's the same again, it's the total opposite. Now you know better. But yeah, that was bad for a while. But I had the same. I wanted your family to like me. I didn't want them to think I was a Florence Nightingale either. I know that if ever I worry about something about us being together, it's not justified. Just, I don't know. You and your accident and everything that's happened is just not an issue to your family. They've just got on with life. It's just normal as always.
He can't stand staying in bed, so he forced himself to get up and get outside and make every day productive. So, yeah, and he's more active than, you know, we can't keep up with him half the time.
You remember, Sue, when Shane first came home to your house, and it was like one big happy family, wasn't it, with all the support workers and Shane and yourselves. And then the difference between Shane then and Shane now, living in his own house, being independent, making his own choices and his own decisions about what he wants to do and where he wants to go. I think it's just fantastic.